Hi all. In this video we're going to look at our first set of limestone landscape features, and we refer to these as overground features. By that, all we mean is that these are features that form on the Earth's surface. Now, when we look at these features, limestone pavement, swallow holes and intermittent drainage, we've grouped these three together for two reasons. One, they're all found on the Earth's surface, which is as opposed to some of the other features which are found underground. And two, the actual formation of them is very closely linked. And if you want to explain swallow hole or intermittent drainage, you're probably going to find yourself explaining limestone pavement as well. Now, when you start explaining any of these features, the first thing you're going to need to do is explain how limestone itself formed. Now, if you're a bit unsure of that and you want a review of it, you can check back to the previous video. Now, limestone pavement. So we've explained how limestone itself formed, and we know that we've got this structure where we've got our nice flat bedding planes and we've got vertical joints. So if we think about this, we've got this kind of structure, and then about 10,000 years ago in the UK, we had the end of our last major period of glaciation. So we had glaciers over the top of the vast majority of the United Kingdom, and these glaciers had retreated, they'd vanished around about 10,000 years ago. Now, as the glaciers moved over and then back across the landscape, they scraped away most of the covering topsoil, grass and vegetation from a lot of areas, but particularly importantly in limestone areas. Now, this is important because by removing that soil and vegetation, it exposed the limestone, the actual rock, to the elements. Very importantly, it exposed it to rain. So, rain falls, and remember when we're talking about rain in a limestone context, we always explain that it's a weak carbonic acid, and it starts to dissolve the limestone by solution. Now, this is helped by both the porous nature of limestone, which allows the water to actually penetrate through the limestone, and it's also helped by the joints and bedding planes. Now, these joints and bedding planes increase the surface area that the limestone has, and it means that this rain can attack more areas on the limestone and erode it more quickly. So this results in the joints and the bedding planes getting bigger. So our joints, they're expanded and they turn into something that we refer to as grikes. And this means that the top of the limestone, this surface that we have here, we get blocks that become kind of isolated from one another. You know, these would have been one bedding plane, but they became isolated as the grikes have expanded, and we call those blocks clints. Now, this is our limestone pavement. It's a very flat, blocky area on the Earth's surface with kind of deep grikes, deep gaps between the blocks where the joints have been eroded. Now, if we get one grike or a set of grikes that is particularly large, or it gets expanded a lot, we refer to this as a swallow hole. Now, this kind of feature is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big hole that swallows a lot of water. You can see, as you look at this image, it's kind of easy to imagine how water gets channeled down into this hole. And this is the limestone here that has been dissolved out, and it's kind of collapsed away. So it'll flow down into this dip in the land and then into this hole, and this will be a long vertical hole. And if we look at the next slide, this is, the hole that we're looking at in the first picture, is this hole here. And it empties out into this big cavern beneath it. Now, the last feature that we think about is called intermittent drainage. Now, this is, it's not something, as you've just seen, that I've got a picture of or something like that, because it's quite hard to get an image of. What intermittent drainage is the lack of surface rivers or streams in limestone areas. Now, because limestone areas, the rock's porous, as we've explained, water can flow through it, that means we don't get surface rivers. So what you do tend to find happens is if you look at it on a map or, some aerial photographs, you'll have a series of rivers that are flowing just kind of normally over the land, and then they start to vanish. And they're vanishing because the rock that they're flowing over has changed to limestone. So the rivers vanish, they go underground. Eventually, limestone doesn't keep going down forever. They're going to come up against a rock that's not porous, it's impermeable. And what that means is it will then flow along that rock until that rock meets up with the Earth's surface, and then the river will reappear as a spring or a line of springs. Now, intermittent drainage can be a little bit tricky to get your head around, but we'll spend a little bit of time in lessons looking at some map extracts that shows some examples of it. Okay, now in this video, we've looked at the overground features that we find in a limestone landscape. Limestone pavements, swallow holes, and intermittent drainage. Now, as with the features in the rivers topic, you need to be able to explain these formations in exam conditions, and in this case, they would all start the same way. You're going to explain how limestone's formed, then you're going to explain limestone pavement, and that's really going to be your diagrams, as the limestone pavement ones. And then if you need to move on to swallow holes, or you could be discussing intermittent drainage, which is a little bit rare, but it could happen, you would then go on to do that. Now in the next video, we're going to look at our second set of features that form, which are our underground features. And I'll see you guys then.